Hey everybody, it's Charles, your hobby hero, and today we're going to be talking about the top 10 Invincible comic books you should be picking up heading into the announcement of seasons 2 and 3. But first, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down in the bottom corner. I do appreciate it. I put out regular content regarding the hobbies that I love the most. So spoiler warning, with any good spec conversation, the reasons behind the spec are going to be spoiling a lot of future content. So if you have not read the books and you do not want spoilers, I would advise you to not continue the rest of this video. Again, there will be spoilers for each one of these as I talk about the impact each one of these books is going to have on the future of the Invincible universe, and why I think that there's still a good opportunity to pick these books up, as they will have a greater impact on collectors as the series continues. If you are not aware, Amazon has greenlit seasons 2 and 3, and the creator has come out and said that he has enough content easily to put 7 seasons out, with some contingency plans to take it all the way out to 10 seasons. We're going to be really looking at books that are going to focus on things that I think are high likelihood being an impact in the next 2 seasons. So having said that, we'll kind of get started with the list. These are not in any particular order. As far as monetary value goes, I will throw up some information on the screen as we're going through the list. Kind of going to start from the higher end books as far as number count wise, and work down the list towards the lower numbered issues. So first one on the list, to the Invincible number 68. Now this is the first appearance of Dinosaurus. Now this character, if you're not familiar with the book, is a young man who, whenever he gets bored or dissatisfied, transforms into the ultra strong, ultra smart Dinosaurus. Now his impact is varies throughout the book. He is a part of a lot of the major events that are coming down the line that we'll touch base on some of the ways, but he has a lot of impact on shaping and molding Mark by the end of the book as well, as far as his concepts of black and white. And he's just a really interesting and fun character. He's one of those villains that you kind of end up agreeing with on a lot of circumstances, but he's just kind of a fun, quirky thing. How the government handles him once he's been captured is kind of interesting as well. So just a really unique character with a book that really does not have a ton of heat right now, but I think once he's introduced to the show, he will be a fan favorite for sure. Next one on the list is going to be Invincible 61. Now this book is already getting a lot of heat. This is the first appearance of Conquest. Now Conquest is a Viltrumite who shows up after Nolan abandons his post on Earth to basically set things straight by force. Now Conquest, like all good villains, is a huge wrecking ball. I would equate him somewhere in the lines of like Doomsday, if you're familiar with the Superman kind of storyline. He's also not a one-trick pony. This is a guy who shows up multiple times throughout the series as well, and causes world-changing impact every time he shows up. So again, another book that I would highly recommend picking up before he actually shows up in the series. Next one is Invincible 44. This one is the first appearance of Anissa. For those of you guys, again, who have not read the book, Anissa is the first female Viltrumite that we see in the series as far as the book goes. Now, they have shown a few flashbacks in the TV show of some other female Viltrumites, but she's really the first one that shows up in the series, and without spoiling too much, she has some very heavy implications on Mark, his personal life, and how the story progresses all the way up to the very end in issue 143, I think, which is the second to last issue, and the impact that she plays on this story. So hugely impactful character. Now there are some people who think, just due to the nature of this character and some of the more extreme things that she does throughout the series, that they may not have her as centrally focused. I doubt that that's the case. I think she does present a unique look at a lot of the things that we struggle with in society right now, and I don't think they're going to shy away from that. I think she will show up at the very least in the next 2 seasons, even if her full story arc isn't realized until one of the later seasons. Next on the list is Invincible 26. This is the first appearance of Oliver Grayson. So Oliver Grayson is the half-brother of Mark. and that is where Omni-Man has gone off to right now. We don't know at the end of the show. He just kind of flies off into space. In the book, he basically goes and flies off to a insectoid race of beings and sires another child with that set. This insect race grows much quicker than the human race does, so his little brother grows up much faster than he does, but he is a staple character throughout the series. Very, again, impactful. He's much more kind of the anti-hero than Mark is, because he's not he feels no affinity towards the human race because he's not a human. So he's always kind of butting heads with Mark in that respect on, hey, how much are you willing to sacrifice for these humans whenever there's your family, your friends that need to be in that second tier. So a very unique character, and again, super important once he shows up for the rest of the series. Very main staple, and again, a book that you can find at a pretty good price at this point. Next one's Invincible 19. I'm also going to throw Invincible 115 in there as well. This is the first appearance of Battle Beast and then the cover appearance of Battle Beast. Now, Battle Beast is already a crowd favorite, and again, he's going to show up multiple times throughout the story. He shows up during the Invincible War. He's very impactful there. He obviously battles the main antagonist in the series for like 3 issues. So the reasons why people love him already, they're going to go even more crazy for him as these other shows start coming out. These aren't things they're going to shy away from. His origin story hasn't even been explored yet. I think that this only is going to trend up even further. It's already starting to catch on, and I think that we're going to see more of him in seasons 2 and 3, possibly even more than we saw of him in the books, just because of how popular he has been so far. Next one is issue number 18. This is the first appearance of Russ Livingston. This is kind of an outside pick because I don't know how much they're going to focus on this character. So Russ is the astronaut that gets kind of possessed by the alien species on Mars. In the comic books, this is a pretty major event when he comes in and he basically sends these things out to take control of all humanity. And there's only a few people that can fight against it. It's a fairly big arc for the book. If they make it that same level of importance in the show, I can see this book really catching on. And again, it's a book that you can still get at a pretty good price due to that kind of outside thing. Now, this could be a riskier pick because they could just kind of gloss over it as kind of a silly villain. He could be resolved in one issue or one episode, sort of like the Flaxens were. So this might be one of the later picks that I would pick up on. Next one on the list is Invincible number 16, and again I have this one with Invincible number 33 as well. This is the first appearance of Angstrom Levy and the first cover appearance of Angstrom Levy. Now, Angstrom Levy is a universe-hopping individual whose storyline is actually really fun, and depending on how they do it with the show, with the added popularity, they may be able to tap into some of the IPs that they kind of hinted at whenever they made the comic book. He went into the Spawn universe, Marvel universe, DC universe, just some fun stuff for the readers that are out there, and I hope they do something similar with that whenever it comes to putting into the show. This guy is a major player. He blames Mark for his disfiguration and basically killing all of his personas off throughout the multiverses. So he triggers the Invincible War that comes down the line. He also attacks Mark's mother in the show, which sets Mark off and brings Mark to a breaking point for his character development. This guy is one of the big bads in the series and one of the more interesting characters in general as well. So I highly recommend looking at these 2 books. They've already confirmed that he's going to be a major impact player in the seasons 2 and 3. And again, I could see him surviving past that as well and to having impacts in the later seasons as well. So this is another one I would pick up before it gets too crazy as well. Invincible 14 is another one on here. This is the first Bulletproof. Bulletproof is kind of an odd character throughout here, but he actually picks up the mantle of Invincible for a while whenever Invincible is off, not protecting the world as we know it. He actually steps in and fills that role. He actually becomes a pretty big player throughout the show, and this is a book that I think you can kind of still pick up under the radar because a lot of people, this first appearance isn't really his significant appearance, as his bigger appearance shows up about halfway through whenever he does assume that mantle of Invincible. Number 7, Invincible number 7. Now, this book is already up there a bit because it's a lower print run book, but this is the first appearance of the Immortal. The Immortal, again, as you can tell, kind of has his power as he's immortal. He doesn't die. Now, they definitely delve way deeper into his character later on. Even in the series right now, he's a pretty shallow character. He really gets fleshed out, becomes a very interesting character, and arguably becomes the most important character on Earth by the end of the series. So this is a book that I think has only got upside potential. The fact that the print runs are so low on it too are going to make it harder and harder to get as things go on. And again, in the book at this point in time, he's not a very central character. But again, he does grow and grow as the book progresses. So another one that I would identify to pick up. Now, before we get to the number 1 on this list, there were a few honorable mentions that I wanted to throw on here. Either books that I thought they may not get to by seasons 2 and 3, or they're just kind of an outside shot on how important they really will be. First one on that list is going to be Invincible number 6. This is the first appearance of the Reanimen. Now, the Reanimen have already played a much bigger role up to this point than they did in the comics at this point. However, in the comics, they become a pretty substantial resource going further down the road, and they do evolve throughout the book series as well. So this is one of those things that, depending on how much they continue to flesh out the Reanimen and that character arc, this book could start to pick up steam on that as well. Invincible number 25 as well. And this isn't credited a lot of places either, but this is the first appearance of Multi-Paul, which is Duplicate's half or full brother, who has the same powers as she does, which is basically be able to split and come back into himself afterwards. Now, he is a villain, and we've been teased him in the show already. You see him in his cell in the first episode. Whenever the Mahler twins are arrested, he is in the jail cell already. We don't know why, but he does become a big player later on in the books as well. And this, again, book isn't properly credited with his first appearance, so a lot of times people don't know it's there, so you can find these books at a steal as well. And if he becomes a big player, this is the book it's going to come back to. This book's also got some other origin stories for a lot of the teen team, which don't get mentioned anywhere else in there, so it's a very nice read to kind of pick up and figure out where Monster Girl gets her powers from, where Rexplode gets his powers from, how Adam Eve gets her powers, and it really fleshes those out. So this was a big under-the-radar one that could pick up steam. Invincible number 23 is another honorable mention. This is the first appearance of Thaddeus. Thaddeus is the leader of the High Council, and you find out that he is actually the Viltrumite that helped develop the Scourge virus that wiped out the majority of the Viltrumite population. Now, he doesn't play a huge role as far as presence in the comics, and kind of takes a back seat to a lot of the other members of the Council. Alan kind of becomes the figurehead for the High Council. But I could see them fleshing him out more in the series, just due to his impact on the Viltrumite race and putting them at odds with some of the bigger decisions that they're going to have to make later on in the series. So I could see that book catching steam as well. And then the last honorable mention I have before we get into the top pick that I have for your top 10 that you should be investing in is Invincible number 8, which is the first appearance of Amber Bennett. Now, if you guys aren't aware, Amber Bennett has been changed pretty dramatically from the series, which is the biggest reason to be apprehensive about this as a spec book. In the show, she's taken a much more involved role, and I can see her being a very well-developed character going forward. I think she's going to be much more impactful than the Amber Bennett from the comic books was. Again, however, with so many changes with that character, people may not really care too much about her first appearance in the comic books, just because she's really only that character in name only, and filling that position of kind of Mark's first girlfriend in the series. So this book could go either way. If people really, really want the first appearance of her, this is really the only place they're going to get it. But again, with so many differences in the character, people may not care about that first appearance. And then the last one that I have for you for the top 10 books that you should be looking for the Invincible series is Invincible number 5, first appearance of Alan the Alien. Now, this is the most expensive book that is on this list, but it is also the book that I think has the most potential to go up. Alan the Alien is a huge figure throughout the book. I would argue that at points in the storyline he becomes a more important figure than Mark himself, and he is going to be there all the way to the very bitter end. We are really just scratching the surface of his character in Season 1, and Season 2 and Season 3 he is going to be a big player, and again, going forward, he is number 2 on a lot of stuff. I mean, you have Mark, you've got Adam Eve, and you've really got Alan the Alien are going to be the ones that carry a lot of the content going forward. And again, this book is a high dollar book, but a lot of it goes up. So let me know in the comment section if you agree, disagree. If you've got any other hot specs that you think may be showing up in Season 2 and 3, let me know. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the notifications bell so you get my future content as well as it comes out. But until next time, Hobby Hero, out.